Okay. Well, I'm gonna try this study. I haven't done it in a long, long time. I've been looking into it lately, and I found even more info. So we're gonna go deeper. So the topic is the virgin birth, and this is a topic that probably won't stop being discussed until the end, the ultimate judgment, maybe. But anyway, here's the we're gonna get to like some of the basic info, but also the new info, right? Um, yeah, I just finished doing all that. So let's go to. Should we start with Genesis and go backwards? I mean Matthew and go backwards. Not really. Start at Genesis 24:16. So this is Genesis 24:16. I'm going to focus on the Hebrew and Greek words for, well, that's behind virgin in the context. So Genesis 24:16, and we're going to lead up. These are the main verses we're going to get. We're going to get Genesis 24:16, verse 43 in the same chapter. Then we're going to go to Isaiah 7:14. Then we're going to go to Matthew 1:23. And then we'll get the whole context of Matthew 1:16 through 25. And we're going to also get some context in Genesis 24. And they kind of all relate and go with the Hebrew and Greek definitions of the words for virgin. So we're going to check it all out, right? So this is Genesis 24:16. It says, the girl was very fair to look on, a virgin whom, I forgot to check my audio. I hope the audio is good. Um, Very fair to look on, a virgin, and we're gonna look at that in Hebrew, of course, and in the Greek. So it says, whom no man had known. She went down to the spring, filled her jar, and came up. So who is this virgin? So in verse 14, it talks about Isaac. In 15, it says, before he had finished speaking, there was Rebekah. That's the virgin. And then it says, who who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, coming out with her water jar on her shoulder. So now we know who it is. And then it's going to give us context about this particular virgin. So I guess I'll start about 13. It says, I am standing here by the spring of water, and the daughters of the townspeople are coming out to draw water. Let the girl whom I shall say, please offer your jar that I may drink, and who shall say, drink, and I will water your camels. Let her be the one whom you have appointed for your servant Isaac. By this I shall know that you have shown steadfast love to my master. And then that's when it comes in about that. So where does it give me? I think I gotta go. It's actually in 16. So yeah, we already got the context of what kind of virgin this was. I forgot I already read it. Um, so I'll just repeat it. This Rebecca was the type of virgin who never had sex. And the Hebrew word for virgin here, we'll look at the Hebrew and Greek, by the way. Go ahead and get both. So I'm already there, but I'm gonna make it bigger. It's way too small right now. I had it small because I was looking at, well, I was making it easier for me to copy it. what is what is this stuff up here? I don't know what that is. Yeah, for some reason it shows up something different. I don't know why. Chapter 24. What's weird is it says volume 1, page 38, but that's not what I want to see. I want to see Genesis 24. I want to see 16 first. Okay, so now we're at the beginning of 16. And it has no English with it, but I don't need it. So I can't read the Greek, but I can read the Hebrew. But we have right here the highlighted word for um, virgin. It goes back to Strong's 1330 in the Hebrew, and it can be pronounced Bethula. Some people already knew. And the Greek word above it, I forget how it's pronounced, but it starts with a P if I'm not mistaken. But we'll check that one out too. So this is the Septuagint comparing it with the Masoretic text. And both of these manuscripts have these words for the words they translate in English, virgin. So we're going to keep those in mind. And we're going to define Bethula. So we're going to check that one out too. I'll just go and define it elsewhere. I'll do it over here. But by the context, we already know what kind of virgin that is anyway, but we still going to check it out though. Age 1330. Bethula. So anyway, this word is translated as virgin, maid, and maiden. And Strong's definitions, which is a lot of times very short and brief, says meaning to separate a virgin from her privacy, sometimes by continuation, a bride, also figuratively a city or state. Oh, I didn't know it was a city or state. Huh? And that's pretty much it. And then it's other Hebrew dictionaries that go in a bit more depth detail. And then we got the GC that flat out says what we used to. So the GC Hebrew English Lexicon says a virgin, pure and unspotted, so called as being separated and secluded from intercourse with men. See the root Arabic, a pure virgin, a religious, blah, blah, blah. We don't need to read no more. But I guess since it's right here in front of me, we'll get this part right here where it says Genesis 24:16, and it shows the Hebrew phrase. And then it says, and the girl was a virgin and no man had known her. And it cross-references that with 2 Samuel 13:2, verse 18, and more. And those are good cross-references. But I didn't even think to go there. Maybe I'll get those two in the future, but we're going to keep going. So we know that that Hebrew word can mean a woman who never had sex with a man, that type of virgin. Now, let's get to the second part. So in the same chapter, we get down to verse 43, and I'll go ahead and put 43 there. My phone's behind me, and my other phone's right here. I got to make these silent because I'm still scheduled for work, but I'm not going back today. God willing, you know what I mean? Let me turn these notifications down and take myself off the schedule for the rest of the day. And I had myself on the schedule for all night. Okay, now hopefully I don't hear no more notifications. If I don't, I'm just gonna have to mute that thing. So anyway, 43, we'll go ahead and look at the Greek and Hebrew behind it. So the word we're going to focus on in this verse will be H5959 for Alma, and it's still the same Greek word. Remember that, right? So we're going to go ahead and read it in English. All right, so 43. It says, I am standing here by the spring of water. Let the young woman, they translate it in this Bible as young woman, but those are the words. Well, that's the word for Alma. And I can't say that Greek word by heart, but then it says a young woman who comes out to draw water, to whom I shall say, please give me a little water from your jar to drink, and who will say to me, drink, and I will draw for your camels. Also let her be the woman whom the Lord has appointed for my master's son. Verse 45. When Wait, did I also read 44? I did. Didn't even know it. Excuse me. Before I had finished speaking, in my heart there was Rebecca coming out with her water jar on her shoulder, and she went down to the spring and drew. I said to her, please. Oh, I thought I said please. Oh yeah, do say please let me drink, and blah 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 blah. Basically, the entire chapter's context from 16 to 46 is still talking about the same person, the same woman, and they're calling this woman a virgin, a young woman. They translated in English, but behind that is the same Greek word. And the Hebrew word changes here in the Masoretic text, but the Greek word does not. The Greek word still goes with the Hebrew word Bethula. But this verse changes to Alma in the Masoretic text. So we already saw it. Alma is where the argument comes in for a lot of people, because when you look at Alma, Alma's not going to say that it can mean someone who never had sex with a man. So let's pull up Alma. I thought I had it already on here, but I guess I did. List H5959. So Alma is translated as maid, damsels, and virgin. And the outline of biblical usage says maid or newly married of marriageable age, virgin, young woman. Additional information from the outline of biblical usage. There is no instance where it can be proved that Alma designates a young woman who is not a virgin. The fact of virginity is obvious in Genesis 24:43, where Alma is used of one who was being sought as a bride for Isaac, and it gives the cross reference to where that's coming from. But these are the brief Strong's definitions, which isn't really much at all. Says a lass, as veiled or private, damsel, maid, or virgin. Didn't really give us anything. Then we got other Hebrew dictionaries that give us a bit more. Some say ripe, sexually, made, or newly married. And that kind of gives it away right there. If you're newly married, you're possibly a virgin or not a virgin. But it wasn't very clear. But then we have cross references to a lot of other verses where this is used. And then we got the GC Nias, who may have a bit more, but I don't know how much more. Oh, there's quite a lot. But we also have GC Nias and the editor of this book in disagreement, and that happens every now and then. So I'll just kind of read some of it. So let's see, where should I start? Where it says Genesis 24:43. Then it gives cross references, and then it says after that, used of a youthful spouse recently married, Isaiah 7:14, compare Joel 1:8. And then it says the notion of unspotted virginity is not that which this word conveys. Keep that in mind. Now, the person who put this together is GC Nias. GC Nias doesn't think that this word conveys that this word means a woman or person who has unspotted virginity. But it goes on to say, for which the proper word is Bethula, which we already went over. That one does give that definition. And then it goes on to say some cross references to, and then it says the LXX have incorrectly. Now, this is what GC Nias' opinion is. GC Nias says that the LXX have incorrectly rendered it that Greek word that we've seen before. And that Greek word goes right back with Bethula, which can mean a person who has never had sex. Let's keep going. So GC Nias' opinion is that the LXX, which is another manuscript of the Bible, 1,000 years older than the Masoretic text, but his opinion is that they incorrectly rendered that as that word. So let's keep going. Then it says, neither does it convey the idea of the unmarried state, as has of late been maintained by Hinsenberg, and there's some references. And then it says, but the nubile state of puberty, and it gives more references, I suppose. Then it goes into a Hebrew phrase, says, in the manner of virgins, blah, blah, blah. Is there anything else I need to read? Actually, at the bottom, now this is the note, the editor's note from the author, not G.C. Nice. So the author disagrees with G.C. Nice, if I'm not mistaken. Not the author, but the editor disagrees with G.C. Nice, which is Trigules. Trigules says, no. The object in view in seeking to undermine the opinion which would assign the signification of virgin to this word is clearly to raise a discrepancy between Isaiah 7:14 and Matthew 1:23. Nothing which has been stated does, however, really give us any ground for assigning another meaning. The ancient virgins, which gave a different rendering, which we're going to get to, then it says, did so for party purposes, while the LXX, which is the one G.C. Nice said is wrong, in his opinion, while the LXX who could have no such motive. So according to Trigules, he's saying that it sounds like some ancient manuscripts, possibly the Masoretic text, which is the one we're looking at, had a motive for translating it a certain way, while the LXX had no such motive, which is 1,000 years older. But let's keep going. So it says, while the LXX could have no such motive, rendering it virgin in the very passage where it must, to their minds, have occasioned a difficulty. Because in G.C. Nice and other people's minds, it is a difficulty that word is Bethula in the Greek, or goes back to it in the Greek. They have a problem with that. But anyway, then it says Alma in the Punic language signify virgin, as G.C. Nias rightly states in these. That's a reference to some book or something. On the authority of Jerome, the absolute authority of the New Testament is, however, quite sufficient to settle this question to a Christian. So that's G.C. Nias' opinion and Trigules' opinion, and they do not agree entirely. So now we got that out of the way. And remember, by the context of Genesis 24:16 through 43, the same woman is being spoken about in both parts, but two different Hebrew words is used, Alma and Bethula. Alma doesn't say it means somebody who never had sex, but by the context of the chapter, the woman is speaking about is a virgin, and that type of virgin that she is the one that never had sex with a man. So it's clearly evident that that word can mean, well, both Hebrew words can mean somebody who never had sex, because by the context, it's referring to the same woman who they can translate in English is a virgin. So it's either in the future that they update the Hebrew dictionary to add in that Alma can mean also a woman who never had sex with a man, or somebody who never had sex by the context in that verse. Or they leave it as is and people continue to argue, but by the context, it's clear that they're, whether they add it or not. And then also, we got further information. So let's go deeper. So now we're going to go to Isaiah 7:14. And we're going to see what's there. So let's check out Isaiah. Isaiah 7:14. The popular verse, and it didn't go anywhere for some reason in this one. There we go. Finally went somewhere. Okay. Now this one, let's go down to the main part, and then we'll read it in English. Is the verse really that long? No, it's not that long. Okay, that's the end right there. I see Emmanuel. Oh, there it is right there. All right, got it. I didn't highlight it. I'll highlight that blue. So we found the main, and we're going to read it in English. So in this translation, they translate it as young woman. So it says, therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Look, the young woman, and then it says, is with child and shall bear a son and shall name him Emmanuel, and etc. and etc. and etc. Some people know the context. You can read it. That's fine. But we're going to look at what's behind those words, that word in English. So we have the same Greek word. I got to learn how to pronounce that word. And we have 5959 for Alma. So looks similar to what we just saw. And remember, in the Hebrew dictionaries that I looked at, Alma doesn't have the meaning that a person never had sex with anybody. And the Greek word there does, which we haven't defined yet. We're going to check that out too. But that Greek word goes with Bethula, the one that does define somebody who can be a virgin and never had sex with anybody. Before we get that Greek word's definition, we're going to look at one more, which is Matthew. Matthew 1:23. The popular verse, but before we get that, I want to read the context. So we'll go ahead and knock it out as well. So it starts at 16, but it really starts at, well, we'll just start at 16. 16 is fine. So it says, and Jacob, the father of Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom Jesus was born, is called the Messiah. I don't really need to read that verse. 18. Now, the birth of Jesus, the Messiah, took place in this way. When his mother Mary had been engaged to Joseph, but before they lived together, she was found to be with child from the Holy Spirit. Her husband Joseph being I was going to say a just man, a righteous man, and unwilling to expose her to public disgrace, planned to dismiss her quietly. But just when he had resolved to do this, an angel of the Lord appeared to him in a dream and said, Joseph, son of David, do not be afraid to take Mary as your wife, for the child conceived in her is from the Holy Spirit. She will bear a son, and you are to name him Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. All this took place to fulfill what has been spoken by the Lord through the prophet. Look, the virgin, and that's the main, we'll come back to that though. Look, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and they shall name him Emmanuel, which means God is with us. When Joseph awoke from his sleep, he did as the angel of the Lord commanded him. He took her as his wife, but, this is one of the main verses too, but had no marital relations with her until she had born a son and named him Jesus. So we're going to focus on 23 and 25. So let's look what's beyond the English for 23. Do I have Matthew in this one? I don't know. No, I don't have it in that one. But I can, wait, what's this one? Oh, that's on the other side. I forgot all about that. Hit that. Thank you. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. All right. So virgin here is G3933, which is the same Greek word that we've been seeing from the Septuagint or LXX, which goes back to the Hebrew word Bethula, which can mean that somebody could have been a type of virgin that never had sex with anybody. But before we get that definition, I want to also get the context knocked out. The context shows that this person was the type of virgin that never had sex until after this person was born, based off of Matthew, not Genesis, based off of Matthew 1:25. But we will look at this in other translations and versions just to get it more plain and simple. Here we go, right here. So the NIV translates Matthew 1:25 as, but he did not consummate their marriage until she gave birth to a son, and he gave him the name Jesus. NLT, but he did not have sexual relations with her until her son was born, and Joseph named him Jesus. Now, from those two, it should be very simple, and I don't have to read anymore, but the context is showing that Joseph didn't have sex with her until after Jesus was born. So, by the context, she was a virgin and never had sex with a man, and there was no way that Joseph could have helped create that child by the context, by having sex. Anyway, just wanted to get that out the way. And now we can look at the Greek definition for G3933. They pronounce it Parthenos. I gotta learn that. You know what I mean? Okay, so Parthenos, which we have seen is in every scripture. Genesis 24:16, 43, Isaiah 7:14, and Matthew 1:23. It's been consistent in all of them. So this word Parthenos is translated as virgin 14 times. Outline of biblical usage: a virgin, a marriageable, a maiden, a woman who has never had sexual intercourse with a man. And we can see that by the context in two places, Genesis 24 and Matthew 1. Then it says some other stuff, but I'll skip down to the Strong's definitions for this is very brief. An unmarried daughter, virgin, or maiden. There is no GC Nias because GC Nias only dealt with the Hebrew, and there is no GC Nias to go by, but we do have, I think, Thyers. Yeah, we have Thyers, which Thyers didn't really tell me much. But I didn't really need it, but it's there. So anyway, that's what that word can mean. And the other word that I was looking at that kind of doesn't really matter is in Genesis 1:25. Because I was curious, what is behind the words that's talking about they had sex or sexual relations. So that word is translated as, was G1097 is translated as know, perceive, understand, and outline of biblical usage. It can mean to learn, to know, come to know, get a knowledge of, perceive, feel, to become known, to know, understand, perceive, same old, same old. And another one can mean sexual intercourse between a man and a woman. And those are some of the meanings. And we see it in 1:25 of Matthew, where it's used where they didn't have sex until after Jesus was born. But I just was curious about that. So that's how this goes a little bit deeper, because I've done this study. I've talked about this with people before in the past, but recently I was speaking with somebody and I think it came up about or somehow I was like, well, I wonder what it says in different manuscripts instead of just the Masoretic text and the main Greek New Testament, or the main the basic that we used to, which I never thought about. And I started looking and I was like, I want to know what the Septuagint say, because that's another source of the Bible too. We got the Septuagint, Dead Sea Scrolls, Septuagint. I said it already, I think. Septuagint, Dead Sea Scrolls, Masoretic text, Samaritan Pentateuch, and the Latin Vulgate. And I never checked anything else except the Masoretic text and the basic Greek New Testament for this. And so I started looking at the Septuagint. I'm like, oh, the Septuagint surprised me. I'm glad I did look. And the Septuagint was consistent all the way through. So I don't know if a lot of people look at that, but even without the Septuagint, it was still evidence of that word Alma meaning virgin by the context, and somebody just needs to update the Hebrew dictionaries and add that definition into it based on the context in Genesis 24:43. I should say Genesis 24:16 down to 43, but also Matthew 1:25. It just needs to be updated, but so they would need to update the Greek and the Hebrew dictionaries because they do that with the English dictionaries a lot. Like, yeah, they update those. But anyway, anything else? I think that's almost all of it, if not everything, that takes it deeper. I mean, there's some other stuff people be looking at. And by the way, I'll throw this out there from my memory. There's only two scriptures. They're not in the Bible though, but they're two hidden. It's like hidden biblical text scriptures that say Joseph had sex with Mary to help create the Christ or the main Messiah. And I can only think of one book that I remember it in. I can't think of the other one. But the majority do not say that. The majority say what we basically see here. We basically get that Joseph didn't have sex with her until after Jesus was born. But it's a lot. It's a lot of. So it seems like the majority is against that. That Jesus was born from Mary and Joseph having sex. And the one book I can remember it in is the Gospel of the Holy 12, where it mentions, if I'm not mistaken, that Jesus had sex, not Jesus, but Mary and Joseph had sex to help create the Christ. But I can't even think of the other book. I read so many books. But yeah, that's so. If there was anything else, what would you want to look at out of curiosity? What didn't I look at? I didn't look at, oh, right. One sentence, Second Samuel. Bethula, maybe? Yeah. 2 Samuel 13:2 and 18. Let's look at that. I forgot where they said go already. Eh? I think it's 13. I don't know. I'm guessing. I don't know. 13:2 and 18. All right. (13:2). I'll read one. All right, so this is about David's daughter when she was raped, but this is what the context shows about his daughter before she was raped. It says that sometime passed, David's son Absalom had a beautiful sister whose name was Tamar, and David's son Amnon fell in love with her. Amnon was so tormented that he made himself ill because of his sister Tamar, for she was a virgin. And we'll have to see what that is in the Hebrew and Greek in a minute. But then it says, and it seemed impossible to Amnon to do anything to her, but Amnon had a friend whose name was Jonadab, the son of David's brother, Shemiah. And Jonadab was was a very crafty man. He said to him, oh son of the king, why are you so Hagar? Oh man, I've never seen this word. Hagar. Interesting. Morning after morning, will you not tell me? Amnon said to him, I love Tamar, my brother Absalom's sister. Jonadab said to him, lie down on your bed and pretend to be ill. And when your father comes to see you, say to him, let my sister Tamar come and give me something to eat, and prepare the food in my sight so that I may see it and eat it from her hand. So Amnon lay down and pretended to be ill. And when the king came to see him, Amnon said to the king, I don't even feel like getting that phone. Where we at? To the king came to see him. Right there. Okay. Said to the king, please let my sister Tamar come and make a couple of cakes in my sight so that I may eat from her hand. Then David sent home to Tamar, saying, go to your brother Amnon's house and prepare food for him. So Tamar went to her brother Amnon's house where he was laying down. She took dough, kneaded it, made cakes in his sight, and baked the cakes. Then she took the pan and set them out before him, but he refused to eat. Amnon said, send out everyone from me. So everyone went out from him. Then Amnon said to Tamar, bring the food into the chamber so that I may eat from your hand. So Tamar took the cakes she had made and brought them into the chamber to Amnon her brother. But when she brought them near to him, did I skip a line? But when she brought them near to him to eat, he took hold of her and said to her, come lie with me, my sister. She answered him, no, my brother, do not force me, for such a thing is not to be done in Israel. Did I say it right? It's not. There's no to be, but it's not done in Israel. Do not do anything so vile. As for me, where could I, I had to make sure I read it right. Where could I carry my shame? And as for you, you would be as one of the scoundrels in Israel. Now, therefore, I beg you, speak to the king, um, for he will not withhold me from you, but he would not listen to me, well, to her. And being stronger than she, he forced her and lay with her. So that's when they had sex, and of course it was rape. But anyway, then Amnon was seized with a very great loathing for her indeed. His loathing was even greater than the lust he had felt for her. Amnon said to her, get out. But she said to him, no, my brother, for this wrong in sending me away is greater than the other that you did to me. But he would not listen to her. He called the young man who served him and said, put this woman out of my presence, and bolt the door after her. Now she was wearing a long robe with sleeves, for this is how the virgin, that's the second time virgin occurs in here, virgin daughters of the king were clothed in earlier times. So his servant put her out and bolted the door after her. So I don't need to read any more, but the context from 1 through 18, we have two words for virgin in it. And let's see. This is verse 18. I could have did it another way also. Okay, so we have 1330 for 18. Bethula, along with the Greek word Parthenos, if I'm not mistaken. And that word can mean a woman who never, or a person who never had sex with anybody. Now let's look at verse 1. And we can tell by the context too. So 13:2 actually has this second word or another word for virgin in it. And it's Bethula as well. Parthenos in the Greek, highlighted in blue. Thank you very much. So the next one would be, I don't know if it's Judges. Let's see. It might be Judges. Another rape occurs in Judges, but I don't know if they were. Oh, we got Deuteronomy 22. 23 and verse 28. Oh, so all those looks like. I do want to check them, but I don't know if I'm going to get all these today. But I tell you what I'll do. I'll try to at least look at depending on how I feel in the spirit. Because when I get the sign to stop, I'm most likely stopping. But I'll try to look at them in the Hebrew and Greek today. Should I continue? I kind of see that I should stop. So I'll probably stop here and continue later. But I do want to see those. So I'll probably look at them. I'm gonna at least look at one. I want to see one. So we got. I think another one is 1 Kings 2, maybe. Wait, what happens if I do this? Perfect. I think is it 1 Kings 1, 2? Probably not. It is 1 Kings 1, 2. Okay. 1 Kings 1, 2. Oh. I'm surprised. I am. So David is finna die. Yeah, because Solomon's finna. Yeah. Oh man, I want to read that, but I'm gonna have to wait. I'm gonna have to come back. That's gonna be something. Man, I'm surprised. I am surprised. Okay, well, I'm gonna get out of here. Peace be to the saints, though. Hopefully the audio went good because I didn't even check. You know what I mean? But that was just me studying because I wanted to, and just showing how that goes deeper. Yeah, some of the stuff I've been looking into lately. Man. At least I got something else to study for later on tonight. Because I like looking at these things before I go to sleep. Makes me feel good. So, God willing, I can check it out before I go to sleep. Yeah, that'd be great. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'm finna go get something to eat. All that good stuff. All right. What am I finna eat? Man, that's a good. Oh, man. I don't know. I'm finna eat, though. I know that. You know what I mean? Finna eat in the building.